Welcome, all of you in podcast land around the country who are all waiting for this broadcast, because our commitment is to give you the actual news that is not covered in the news, so that I could basically summarize for you what's going on out there, because I'm just digesting and ingesting and analyzing stuff all day long. But I'm only interested in the part that's going to be prophetically relevant to the move of God in the United States and in the world. So we have to read between the lines to see where the battle lines are. And by the way, Mercedes, I just heard today that Mike was mentioning his symposium, and we're going to be going up there to actually cover that. Tell people what's happening.
Yeah, the Moment of Truth Summit, that's coming up this weekend. We're going to be broadcasting it on Getter, Lance's Getter, so lancewallnau.com/Getter. And I did with just the R at the end and the ER, because everybody spells it the wrong way. Anyways, join us on Getter. And please, you know what, Lance? We've got to support Mike Lindell. He is out of his own pocket paying for the symposium for 2 days, covering what's been done in the election, covering what's wrong with the machines. And then you're speaking. I mean, he is going out of his way to get truth out there. So please, I know you've probably bought the pillow. I know you probably have the slippers, but do you have the dog bed? Do you have the Bible and pillowcases? There's sheets, the Bible pillowcases, the Bible sheets for your kids. I'm telling you, there's something you don't have. So you got to go support Mike. Go ahead, go to mypillow.com and make sure you use that promo code Lance, because Lance, we got to bless this guy. He's out here.
We got to bless him. And I'm telling you, I've decided something. I've got a hold of the My Pillow, and here's my commitment. So I just did a Clay Clark event up there in New York, upstate New York, and where the Attorney General of the state was trying to shut us down. We were using Mario Murillo's tent. Mario Murillo let his tent be used for this great purpose, and Eric Trump was there, and Mike Flynn was there. But I woke up the next day with the worst allergies, because I don't know about you, but I found out that I'm allergic to down, feather, anything. And when you're going and traveling, if you guys don't know about this, how many people, just tell me in the chat thread, you guys have any response? I don't know why they're still using feathers, duck feathers, bird feathers, whatever, because I couldn't hardly breathe. I'm taking Mike's pillow from now on in my carry-on case, because I'm sleeping with the Mike Lindell pillow. That's what I'm doing, people. I'm practicing what I preach, and I decided just this week the pillow's going with me.
Love it.
Mike Lindell, great guy. Okay, so you don't want to miss the Getter coverage, and it's going to be mypillow.com. Go to use Lance, and you get like 40 to 50% off a lot of those things.
Yeah, and like what you're saying though, come tune into the Moment of Truth Summit. Just go to lancewallnau.com/Getter. You can watch it all there. See Mike, see Lance. It's going to be a great day.
All right, let's dive in. Welcome back to this segment and this podcast, Lance Wallnau Show, and we're going to be talking right now about could Trump be facing prison time for alleged violation of the Espionage Act? The FBI's search warrant of former President Donald Trump's Florida home authorized confiscation of every record he ever saw, read, created in his 4 years as commander-in-chief, right down to the scribbles on a napkin. This is so like, if you think about this, there's a verse in Psalms, I think it is, where David said, "My enemies have conducted a diligent search." This is nothing new. This is almost like a spiritual playbook. And you always talk about this, Mercedes, how the devil never changes his tactics. It's like Satan is such a legalist. He tries to find anything you've ever done in order to disqualify you. It's the essence of what woke is all about. So anyway, the issue is going to be a damage assessment now from the Democrats, because they're realizing they're getting a great deal of blowback. And of course, Adam Schiff is out there trotting out why has he never been held accountable for pushing the Russian dossier and deceiving Americans with 30 shows on CNN saying he's got the information in his hands? I mean, this is what worries me about America. What worries me about America is that we become accustomed to tolerating the lying. And it's as though if you're a Democrat, you don't care. And if you're a Republican, you don't have an appropriate sense of outrage. The only people that are really outraged is our base. And we're saying, be calm, because we're so torqued out over what's going on that you can be pushed over an edge. But just be at peace, because your enemy is right now destroying himself. And this is all their panic attack over the midterms. But the warrant shows agents were looking for evidence of 3 potential crimes, focusing on, you're going to hear more about this, violations of the Espionage Act, which carries a sentence of 10 years in prison, while obstruction of justice could be punishable with as much as 20 years behind bars. Don't put it past them. The House Republican Conference Chair, Elise Stefanik of New York, said the FBI raid of President Donald Trump is a complete abuse and overreach of its authority. This is the same agency leadership that protected Hillary Clinton when she destroyed evidence. James Comey was also protected and continues to protect Hunter Biden. It's the same agency leadership that perpetuated the false Russia hoax for years. So you have a statement like that goes out there, and it just goes out into vaporland, because that's actually what everybody's thinking that's thinking. Senator Mike Rounds, who is a Republican of South Dakota, called on the Justice Department to release more information. I think releasing the affidavit would help, at the very least, confirm that there was a justification for the raid. And in the meantime, I say pray for peace, because there evidently were armed Trump supporters protesting outside a Phoenix FBI office. I think the FBI, I want to talk about the FBI today, because they become the tool of the progressive Democrat attack on their political opposition. And I believe that this is so obvious and over the top that it's going to be one of the first things that is going to be on the agenda of exposure and accountability when Republicans get the gavel at the midterms. And so, Mercedes?
I just am thinking, like, were there really Trump people out there with guns? I mean, I just question everything I read these days. You're like, how do you know it's not, Antifa dressed up as Trump supporters with guns in front of the FBI? And, and here's my other thing. We watched that Sinclair broadcasting clip, whatever that was there. And it's like, if you follow Q people at all, because I got a couple in my family, as we all probably do, they are thinking this is a Trump set this up. The FBI, Trump's in on it. He's exposing the deep state. Yes, there's no Q person out there that's saying we need a civil war. They think we've got this thing locked down. I got the opposite problem with my Q people. I'm like, guys, he's not doing this. They're targeting him.
No, there's an element of there's one. What happens is there's such a desperation for truth in media, which is why we do this broadcast, because I will always give you sanity. But it's like one guy said to me once when I was doing my master's degree in theology and leadership studies, right? He said, the reason why I like you among the prophets is because you're not weird. And I said to him, oh, trust me, I can get weird when I have to be.
Amen. I was at the airport the other day and I was like, Lance, I don't feel good. Like, I'm not really feeling great. And he goes, all right, let me pray for you. And we're in the terminal around all these people. And he goes, in the name of Jesus. And I was like, Lance. And then I'm feeling convicted. Like, don't be ashamed of the gospel. Don't be ashamed of the gospel.
Well, you felt better, didn't you?
I did feel better.
Come on. I put on my A.A. Allen mantle and we pray for miracles, signs, and wonders. I go there, people. I am Pentecostal beneath my doctorate degree.
True.
So but what I want you guys to catch is how a couple of directions we can go here. I want to go on one. Trump's 2024 primary support reaches new heights. This is why just relax. Take a deep breath. Take a chill pill, people, because this is all working out great. This is the hysteria. This is like a demon manifesting before it comes out.
Yeah.
Yes, it's ugly, it's disruptive, it's confusing, but it's a demon manifesting. 58% of Republican voters said they backed Trump in a hypothetical 2024 contest. But what's interesting about I got some data on, since the raid, Trump's 2024 standing after the FBI raid went from 53% to 58%.
Wow.
The response was those that weren't so sure about him, they're all DeSantis, kind of like, I wish it was Ron DeSantis. He doesn't have any baggage. This is what I hear, and this my friends tell me. Well, the problem is America's beyond the point of a statesman solution. We need someone that's going to go in there the wrecking ball now needs to do something.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to dismantle the 3-letter agencies. This is all Schedule F stuff we talk about, which is Trump's plan of taking the top layer of the 4 million government employees with their nose in the trough. He's going to shrink down, maybe he's take the top layer of the corrupt operatives working with the Democrats, going to take out like the top layer, the top 10%. So we can get to the next level that actually wants to govern America for everyone's benefit, not for the benefit of their party. So he's up to 58%. Trump's improvement has come to the detriment of Ron DeSantis, who's slumped 5 percentage points to 16%. But Ron isn't wanting to run against Trump. He's already said it.
You know what I would love is a Trump DeSantis ticket. So he gets in, he knows who all the bad deep state actors are. Trump gets in there, does his thing. Then we get Ron for 8 years. Well, that would not be epic.
The problem is, where in America do we have a governor that shows how to govern like Ron DeSantis?
I know, but America needs that governor. He's America's governor. We need him.
Well, remember Rudy Giuliani was America's mayor, and now they're trying to lock him up. Of all the cases, they're doing a case in, Fulton, Georgia, the most corrupt county in Georgia, has decided that rather than cleaning up their corruption, they're going to take Giuliani to court. So it's just lawfare. Lawfare is warfare in the spirit.
And in scripture. I mean, everything comes back to the law. It really does. I mean, when they're rebuilding the wall, it comes back to legal precedent. Oh, well, we have it. Cyrus made the decree, and then Darius finds it, and they get to rebuild that wall in a legal stance, Paul goes all the way to Rome through legal stance. Jesus killed through legality by his government.
Well, yes.
For the things that he said.
Now, for those of you that are wondering about what's going on with the Republican Party, 71% of GOP voters say Trump should run in 2024. And this will only go higher. Unfortunately, I got to give you the bad news too. The FBI and the Leviathan Media Network, that's a good one, LMN, the Leviathan Media Network is all doing its damnedest to be able to propagandize America that Trump has committed a crime. So let me give you some data on that. Of course, the Democrats, 81% say, yes, Trump has committed a crime. Of all voters, 49% believe that there is evidence of a crime. 39% believe that it was motivated to politically damage him. Now, of course, someone's going to say, Lance, where are you getting that information? Which is why the Q thing is so popular, because I was saying earlier, people go to Q stuff because they don't trust anything they hear in media. The latest Morning Consult / Politico survey, so you got to take it into account that this is Politico, so they're going to be left-leaning. But suppose it's true. Suppose it's true. Don't underestimate the power of what we're up against. That only 11% of Democrats feel that this is designed to damage his career. But that 11% is a significant number in Democrat voters, because when you get 10% of Democrat voters saying, oh, this is not right. Remember, there are a lot of good Democrats out there. Andrew Klavan was making this point in a Daily Wire broadcast. He says, don't confuse Antifa and the activists with your average Democrat voter, because a lot of folks grew up voting Democrat, and they're listening to CNN and MSNBC and Rachel Maddow and all the deception. And so they're not hearing the truth. I mean, my wife's family are all educated Northeasterners, and they listen to whatever Fauci said and whatever the government says. They believe it. And they're professors up there. So, but 39% of all voters believe this is politically motivated. This is a serious number. When near 40% say this is an attack on a man for political purposes, and 11% of the Democrats say this ain't right. That's interesting. Now, among independents, 48% think that there's possible evidence of a crime. 15%, and this is going to be the swing vote, say they don't have an opinion yet. They're looking at the information. 37% are motivated to change. They say it's motivated to damage Trump. I don't have to tell you that 69% or 70% of Republicans feel it's a political hit job. Somebody sent to me something today, which I think is interesting. They said that they think a great candidate for Trump to run with wouldn't be Ron DeSantis because Ron and Trump already overlap with the same enthusiasm. What you want to do is you want to get someone as VP. You never choose a vice president based on who's the best friend and most like the guy you like. You choose a vice president like Lyndon Johnson was chosen by John Kennedy. Johnson hated Kennedy, and they knew it. But Johnson could bring the South and the Southern Democrats, which is why Kennedy was assassinated, sadly, in Dallas. He was coming down here to shore up that constituency of Southern Democrats that Lyndon Johnson had, which means of all the potential influencers Trump would put in as a vice president, possibly Rand Paul, because he is the voice of the independent voters, the libertarians. And so he represents that independent libertarian part, which is which is enough to swing any election. So I'm just saying that I know people that are not motivated by the science of elections will say, no, we want to get the most radical conservative we can. Well, yeah, I get that. The other, Tulsi Gabbard is the other one that's been floated. You're shaking your head vehemently.
I just don't know why, like Rand Paul's not bringing anybody to the party. He's not going to bring any new voters. You don't
think Rand Paul has any influence? You saw how he's taking on Fauci?
No. Plus, the other thing is, too, my concern is Trump is a little bit older. And by the time we get there to rerun and then 2 years into his presidency, God forbid something happened to him. I don't want Tulsi, what's her name? Tulsi Gabbard or Rand in there.
Paul. Yeah,
Give me my DeSantis.
Right. You want Ron in the wings in the event that he's got. I agree. For that reason.
Ready to go.
For that reason. You might have a point.
It's all right. So, everybody's got a different opinion than me.
You guys make your comments in the chat thread. We're always interested in your thoughts. Who should Trump run with?
We did this great training on work of leaders recently with Carl. And we have our Saturday show where we do our personal development and Sunday spiritual development. But, we did this great thing in work of leaders. And my constraints out of all of the amazing things were challenging and very matter of fact. So that's how I feel about my DeSantis.
Well, that's true. That is your strengths and your weakness right there.
But you should go check it out. My other point in bringing it up is go check out our Saturday and Sunday broadcast.
Yeah, that was an exceptional broadcast. All right, now I want you to hear this one. Al Franken, because Liz Cheney in Wyoming is one. And Trump has a list of everyone that is on his adversaries list, and unfortunately, you got the lady up there in Arizona running for Senate. What's her name? Not McCloskey, but or maybe it is her name. Senator in Arizona. No. But Senator she's like a constant problem. But anyway, so you got the Liz, and she voted for Trump's impeachment, which really made her on his enemies list. But Al Franken is giving his endorsement to Liz Cheney, and he was the former senator from Minnesota. And
I'm sure that's going to put her over the top.
And of course he was put in the hot seat and had to step down, I think, because of the Me Too movement, right? The
Me Too movement. Yeah, you're right.
And so it's different people are responding. He says he thinks it's going to carry a lot of weight in terms of moving her over into victory.
Yeah.
And David Simon says, did you ask her first, in the immortal words of Max Ballastock to Leo Bloom and the producers? Don't help.
It's another Me Too moment for him.
Yeah, another right. Radio host Mike Opelka told Franken, that's actually the funniest thing you've ever written. Anyway, and Scott Pressler, because Franken had this image of him, making believe he was groping a girl who was sleeping, on the Saturday Night Live. He said, that's a gripping endorsement, Al, which is kind of terrible.
Wow.
So he's really, getting his pushback. Cheney is 28 points behind, but according to Peter Navarro, she has, because in the state of Wyoming, you can vote in a primary outside your party. So she's got 11,000 votes converted from Democrat to Republican just for the primary to give her the victory.
What?
So that's right. So Democrats are voting for her in their primary. And it looks like it's going to be tighter than people thought. And then she did something unprecedented. She printed out on government stationery 1 million ballots. She's flooding the zone with ballots so that there's going to be ballots that are going to be showing up just like in the Trump election. And she's using these ballots in order to get herself in. And she wasn't
Mm-hmm.
It's illegal, but she did it and got a wrist slap saying you can't do that, and she did it already.
Well, think how wild that is. That if you're so, let's say you've got like the Democratic challenger that is the shoo-in, and then all these other people can switch over and vote for the weakest Republican candidate. I mean, that's really wild that they can do that.
Yeah, Wyoming.
Wow.
Every state. That's why we got. That's why like with the Mike Lindell. What's it called? The symposium we're going to this weekend. I'll be speaking at.
Yeah, Moment of Truth Summit.
Moment of Truth Summit. I'm going to be speaking there. Going to be on Getter. You want to go on Getter? I'm going to be covering it live and interviewing various speakers. He's going to be going through a state by state, reviewing the structure of what's happening in every state, because every state has its own political footprint, and we're going to look at the battle as it's unfolding, because it's all over the place. I want to go back. I only got like 6 minutes in this segment. I want to go back and talk about what happened to the FBI. The Republican Party used to love the FBI. Back in the Reagan days, the FBI was like, the clean-cut, just the facts, ma'am, would do the job. What happened was, this is an excellent analysis that I ran across in the National Review, and it's that the FBI, during the period of the 90s, when there was jihadism going on, was retasked and restructured from being a police enforcement agency, which is supposed to be all this child sex trafficking going on in America. They were supposed to be the police state, the police apparatus that the state has to deal with criminal activity, drugs, fentanyl, people getting across the border, child abductions, sex trafficking. This was what they're supposed to do. Now they're looking at whites and Christians and parents as potential terror threats. I mean, seriously.
No, I know.
That's their redefined mission. Now, how that happened was during the 90s, they began to reorganize as a national, as an intelligence agency, not a police agency, looking for domestic threats. This is how you end up with Stasi, how you end up with the Communist Party stuff. Because now that they're looking at national threats, what's happening is under Obama, you have an awful lot of leadership going in that are progressive, in bed with the Democrats in Washington. So they begin to focus on domestic terror threats as an intelligence service with their political hit list. Instead of being crimes, they're now looking for crimes that are happening among the voting bloc of conservatives and Republicans. So during Obama's era, they got progressivized in Democrat-dominated D.C., so they started shifting their focus off of Islamic terror to Trump's followers, and they became weaponized as the agents there. Now, this, and it's gotten so bad, I don't have to give you the litany of how bad it is, but remember that in Michigan, they embedded themselves in a group in order to lead them to an effort to try to abduct Governor Whitmer so that they could make the case that this was Trump militia and crazy people that are dangerous. And they wanted to take this case and bring it in the news as evidence of Trump's own people trying to abduct, a Democrat governor. Then they found out these guys weren't Trump people. They were like living in the basement, bunch of losers. And they were half of the group that was there was FBI informants and FBI facilitators trying to coax them into a crime. So the whole case fell apart. They moved the guy in charge of that operation from Michigan to D.C. to oversee January 6th. So, I mean, it's the fingerprints on this thing are so telling. You got to read Darren Beattie on Revolver .news to really catch these stories, because this is why you have the Ray Epps thing, where they're saying he was working with the FBI field office there in Phoenix, and they didn't even put his name out there. They took him off the list, even though he's seen on video facilitating the break-in. They've got like hundreds of people that are in either locked up or are in the docket to get tried. And you've got people like this that were saying, well, this guy looks like he's FBI all over the place. So, but they're not going to reveal. They embedded themselves in the Proud Boys, in the One Percenters, in the Oath Keepers, into these grassroots movement, which I'm sorry to say, they're the counter to Antifa and BLM on the right. They're not Christian-led, but there is a natural kind of balance that takes place, that if you feel like you're under attack from the left organizing street gangs, you start to organize on the right in order to deal with it. They put their FBI agents into those groups So they knew exactly what the dialogue was regarding January 6th, and they have not testified because the one testimony they have says that the Proud Boys specifically gave instructions, no weapons, no guns. In fact, we're going to do a cleanup operation, and they actually cleaned up debris that was at the site. So what you've got here is major distrust of the FBI. They need to be dismantled, and they need to be taken off of this. Listen to my point here. They need to stop trying to be the intelligence agency protecting the Democratic Party and become the police agency they were originally assigned to for drugs, for trafficking, and for domestic criminal activity. Period. And that won't happen unless there's a massive midterm mandate to start to take apart this administrative state. That's what it's called. This is now becoming a dangerous collusion of the Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, with a party that is in the business of prosecuting its political adversaries.
Yeah.
And it's got to be broken. And so that's the behind the scenes stories of how it got that way.
Yeah. And people got to recognize this is like a 4-year map to victory. You know, we got to do midterms. We got to hold strong for 2 years. And then we got to be just as aggressive as the Democrats have been these first 2 years. And that it's a 4-year campaign to transform America, to save America.
And so listen, you got to go to lancewallnau.com because that's how you're going to be able to keep in touch with our podcasts and with our database so that you can get apprised of where we're going, because we're doing meetings all over the country a lot. And Mercedes, how do they follow you?
Just follow Sadie's.com, follow Sadie's, Mercedes Sparks everywhere. And please don't forget, check us out on Getter this weekend while we do live coverage from the Mike Lindell Summit.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I was listening to Mike earlier because he mentioned my name twice, which makes me nervous because I want to go out there, but now I'm worried about if Facebook's going to attack me.
No.
No? You don't think so?
No, because it'll be on Getter.
It'll be on Getter. All right, well, see you again.
Thanks for listening to this Lance Wallnau broadcast. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to subscribe and share the episode. See you tomorrow.